Teslong borescope. These are pretty nice. I've been borrowing one from a friend, and I finally broke down and bought one for myself. So let's see what they give you. Theo, really? So this is something to keep in mind when you buy a borescope. There are less expensive ones on Amazon, and the problem is the tip. I just had a friend order one. He was going to connect it to his phone. He wanted to try it out. He was all excited. And it doesn't fit in the bore. It may fit in some, but if you have, say, a 30 caliber gun and it fits, and then say you buy a 22 for your kid and you want to clean it, now you got a problem. So this specific one is from Teslong. It is designed to be used for rifles. It's 26 inches long. When you take these apart and when you first open them up, take this plastic cap off. That protects the threads underneath to attach your mirrors. And then you can slide off this nice little protective cover. It's got a nice billet aluminum handle, nice rubberized piece here for stopping it. You have to be careful with the ends. This does not have the pins. This is the female side, but the other side has pins, so you have to line them up when you put them together. And you can bend those pins if you're not careful. There's two different cables in this kit. This one attaches to a laptop. It's got a thumb wheel, which I'm guessing is for brightness. Yes, it is. It's got a thumb wheel for brightness, which makes it pretty handy, so you can just adjust it on the fly. But USB, standard USB. But what I'm going to use, because it's more convenient for me, this one connects directly to the screen that it comes with. It's also got another, so this would be a charging cable, USB charger, just like most standard things today. This one comes with the screen. Now you can buy these where they come with just the USB cable to connect them to a computer. But I don't want to drag my laptop to go to the workbench every time I want to work on something. I think this is nice and handy to have. The other thing it comes with is a set of mirrors. So this one is designed for rifles. So it comes with 5 different mirrors in 5 different sizes. 0.2 inch, 0.24, 0.28, 0.34, and 0.4. Those are the diameter of the mirrors, so they'll fit in anything that size or larger for your rifling. So 22 caliber, 243, 30 caliber, 38, and 40 caliber. The reason it's important, why people say, why not just have them all be 22? If you put this in, say, a 308 and you're using the 22 size, you're going to move around inside the rifling, and it's going to go closer and further away and be a little more erratic. What I don't like about this is they were nice enough on here to label these A, B, C, D, and E and tell you which size were what. But when you open it up and you take the cover off, there's nothing that tells you which one is what. So you just have to go by eye, but it's kind of obvious. And since I'm going to be doing a 223 bolt action today, I need the smallest one. But even, I'll show you on the biggest one. They could have lasered like a letter on here. I mean, it's clear that this is the largest one. But they could have lasered something on it. You can see it's got a nice little mirror in there. And how this works, you've got your mirror. There's also, on the end of this, there is a little threaded knurled piece. It's a jam nut. And so you thread this bad boy on. Once it's on, you actually want to take that jam nut and jam it against. That jam nut's going to do 2 things. You can adjust your focus if you have to. I haven't really seen a need to do that. I pretty much just put it all the way on and it works fine. But if the image was not totally clear and you needed to be closer or further away, you could adjust your focus with that. But generally, the reason you want to tighten that jam nut is if you put this in the rifle and you're trying to spin it to look at rifling, this part could touch the edge of the rifling and sit still and not move. And now you're going to rotate this and not see different parts of inside of the barrel. So always tighten that little jam nut up. Doesn't need to be crazy tight, just snug. Should be charged right out of the box, so we don't need to charge it. It's a nice little protector on the screen. There's a little push button in the back. And you have to push that button to attach or remove this cable. Which is good, because you don't want to be using it and move and have the thing just fall out. So you see on the end here, there's a cutout. I'll put a picture up. There's a half cut. There's a half circle cut on each side of this, and it's a USB, I believe USB-C. So this will fit either way. Doesn't matter which direction. But you push that button, slides right in, and it's locked in place. Now, the business end, there are 5 pins. I'll put a picture of that up. But there's a positive piece sticking out, and there's a recessed groove, and you have to line them up, and they put a little red dot right on the outside, so you don't have to bother staring in there trying to find it. So, line that up. Gently place them together and give it a push. Make sure it's seated all the way. And then you can tighten that up. Now she's ready to put her in the rifle and take a look at her rifling. I've been working on developing a load for my son's rifle for competition, and I think I've got it pretty dialed in, but there's still a flyer occasionally, which I know is me because I suck, but that's okay. But I've been shooting it a bunch, and I'm betting it's kind of dirty. And the big reason I wanted to pick up a bore scope is now that we're shooting a lot more, or at least now that he's shooting a lot more, I want to keep an eye on carbon rings, make sure we don't develop any. Don't want to have stuck cases in the middle of him shooting a match. So let's get the rifle out and see how it works. So this is my son's rifle that he uses for competition, at least right now. And because he's only 11, this cheek riser is pretty high, which means we are not going to be able to put our bore scope in because of the angle. So I just got to grab an Allen wrench and lower that. But if you have an adjustable cheek piece, if you have an adjustable comb, you're going to have to make sure that's not in the way. So for functions, this is a pretty nice little unit. On the very bottom, there's a little access port. This is where you would charge it with the USB-C, and also they even include for free a micro SD. This one, I just popped it out and looked, it's 32 gigs, so they give you a 32 gig card so you can actually take pictures of your bore inside. But whether you're turning it on or off, you just press the power button and hold it. Turns on. And look at that, we got an image of the bore. We can see some rifling. Oh, and look at that. That is one of Theodore's hairs. You can adjust the brightness. You can make it a little bit darker. It was pretty bright to begin with. That's all the way off. There's different levels of the LEDs. So if you're getting too much glare, so it looks like about 4 different levels. It shows up kind of purpley blue on the camera, but it's actually very, very clear. So you took a picture of that. We got settings. Shutter sound. How do we get out of this menu? Oh, more settings. Nice. It's got automatic shutdown. You can change the formats. And hit it again and you're out of your settings. That's interesting. You can also rotate the image. You can flip it upside down or right side up. But wow, those there's a lot of A lot of carbon in there, a lot of fouling. Question is, do we have any gas ring? Let's get back to the chamber. Huh. That's interesting. Looks like unburned powder. Here's our chamber. So this doesn't look like it was very polished. I did not cut this barrel. The brass looks fine, but it could be a little more polished. Still want cross hatching on it. You don't want it too polished, but that's a little rough right there. And there's our free bore. And it looks like we're starting to get a gas ring. This has got about 400 rounds through it since I've cleaned it really well. But you can see that's where your rifling starts. And that's what you're looking for, and if you're looking for gas rings. But she's got a little bit of gunk. We'll see if we can't get her cleaned up and see how she looks afterwards. And I thought I would add, for those people who just say, I'll just bore snake and run it through a few times. I ran this bore snake through 10 times. I would not consider this deep cleaning. I just did it to show how it does something, but it's not the same as deep cleaning. Now, I haven't cleaned this yet. This is just 10 times with CLP running a bore snake through it. And you can see it is somewhat clean, or cleaner, but there's still a lot of carbon and lead fouling. It is nowhere near clean. And if we come back to that chamber, you can see it did not even bother to touch that carbon ring. That carbon ring is still completely there. It didn't even leave a mark on it. So this needs to be scrubbed, and it needs to be scrubbed good.
Don't let Sleepy Joe know that you got one of these.
Yeah. I will say this gun is so much cleaner than it was. So it's a little hard to show on camera the screen here, but I'll put some still images, and it made a huge difference. As we go through these images, the very first shot here, you can see the rifling, the lands and grooves are just filthy. There's tons of copper, tons of fouling, even got one of my dog's hairs in there. Theo, I don't know how you did that. This shot here, you can see that nice carbon ring in the chamber. And I don't know if this is really bad. I've never let one get terrible to where it's getting stuck cases, so I don't know how much further it can go, but it doesn't hurt to clean it. As I showed you, I tried to just run a bore snake through it about 10 times with some CLP and see what it would do. And it honestly didn't do much. It took out the major crud, but you know, if you're just running a bore snake through your gun, you don't really know how clean it is unless you can actually see it. So with these pictures, here's a good shot. You can actually see how nice and clean the rifling is now. I'll put this as a side-by-side comparison, the before and the after. If you're just running a bore snake, it's not going to be this clean. You won't know if it's clean. And then this is the carbon ring after cleaning. You can see that it's all gone, but right as the rifling starts, for some reason I wasn't able to get all of that out of there, but that carbon ring is gone. And the rest of the rifling looks really, really good. So I'm going to call it clean because I'm just going to shoot it and it's going to get dirty again anyway. But that's the whole point why you need a good bore scope. If you can't see it, how do you know it's clean? Actually zoom in on stuff. It's kind of hard to show. I wonder if you can take a picture when you zoom in. So here we're looking at our bore. It's nice and clean. And if I remember right, if you push up, yeah, see that zooms 1.3 and 1.5. So you can really see the detail and see if you missed any spots. But I'm curious, does it take a picture in the zoomed mode? Yes, it does. So you can get nice detailed pictures. So Borescope, definitely a good investment. Spend the extra money, get the rigid one, get the one that comes with the different mirrors. I've seen a couple online that only have 2 or 3. Obviously, the more the better. This one I think was $149 on Amazon. I don't sell these, but it's definitely a worthwhile investment.